More Battlefield news cropped up, Mr. Black. They're getting ready as they are apparently going to be showing it in June. We're going to get our first major look of it in June, so either E3 or Summer of Games. I'm guessing E3 if it's June. But we'll get a first real big look of it in June, so that's coming up quick, because sometimes I forget that we're halfway through May. So we're...
Yes, yeah, June will be here before you know
it. Blink and suddenly it's E3. So yeah, they're gonna have our first viewing in June. But the CEO of EA did come out to say that it will be this is a bit of a contradicting statement for me. A true next-gen experience featuring, notably, epic scale, okay? Unbelievable player counts is what he's calling these. Unbelievable. So we already know that Warzone is over, over 100. Was 120 or some shit? I can't remember what the count is for Warzone. I'm guessing 200. My guess, 200 to 250. There have been games that have done those numbers before. So we'll see. But obviously, games have gotten far more fucking substantial since then. And game-changing destruction.
Ooh.
Which is what Battlefield used to be about. So, I guess they're bringing that back. The reason why I say that I'll believe it when I see it here is that apparently this is going to be a cross-gen title. So last gen and this gen. So if you're telling me this is going to be a true next-gen Battlefield game, but you're also going to have to hamstring it so that it runs in a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One,
that ain't it.
I don't believe you. I just don't believe the laws of physics tell me that you're going to have to cripple the fuck out of at least one of those two, or not, if not both, just so you can sell on last gen's consoles.
Yep.
Now, we talked about this before, Mr. Black, how we feel like this is their last chance to really nail Battlefield before they're going to be basically fighting an uphill battle that they might not be able to win in the future, trying to make this franchise relevant again.
Yep.
Do you think... Obviously, they're putting it on old consoles to increase their ability to sell copies right now.
Yep.
But do you think that in this, because this is how I think of it, in an environment now, or in a gaming market now, where titles like a new Battlefield one are long tail games, they're service games, they're around for 2-3 years, being pumped full of new content, free to play shit, etc., etc. Do you think it was wise to make this cross-platform or cross-gen like this, or do you think they should have just gone all in on next-gen, knowing that the game's going to be around so long that the possible player base will be more than large enough, with the likes of things like just the number of sales for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X you're going to get in 2 years, 3 years? Even where they are now, and Game Pass, and things like that nature, the player base that exists, do you think it was worth probably hamstringing the game to put it on older consoles?
Well, it depends on when they're trying to release this game. Like, if they're trying to release this game, like, next year, they probably have to leave it the way it is. It's so hard to find a PlayStation right now. Not only that, is you can't assume that every person that has a PlayStation or a new gen console actually wants to play Battlefield.
Yeah, the attach rate's not 100%.
Yeah. This isn't Call of Duty we're talking about here.
Yeah.
This is Battlefield, right? So I would imagine that it's a play that they just have to do if they want to actually sell their game. It's unfortunate because it's obviously going to cause some issues. But it's just the way it is. Because if you have 250 players, and that's your big selling point, hey, 250 people in a Battlefield cross-platform, you got to make sure that you can queue up and get 250 people consistently, and you're not sitting in queue forever. Because if you're playing the long game, where in 3 years, everybody's going to have the next gen console, and there'll be more players, but 3 years or 4 years from now is a long fucking time in gaming, and Battlefield does not have a good track record to stay relevant for a long period of time. If this was like Fortnite, if this was Call of Duty, if this was you know, I any other
something
game
with a proven player base that's big enough.
Yeah, they just I don't think they can gamble that. So I think ultimately it's probably the right decision for them. But I'm not even interested in Battlefield, so I don't give a fuck if they say, hey, you can blow up every single building in the world, and on top of that, we have 500 players. I'm still checked out. I'm done with Battlefield. It's going to be a shit show. It's going to be a shit show. So,
yeah, I'm really wondering how they're gonna, because player count is what will cripple the old consoles fastest, right? Like in terms of online play, the higher the player count, the more likely, the more technically limited the game is going to be. Obviously the graphics are going to be completely fucking destroyed on the old gen consoles for multiplayer specifically, which is already a thing that's happened for years. Where the single player has the ability, obviously, for obvious reasons, to run at better resolutions or with better textures and more shadows and stuff. And then when you go online, all of a sudden everything looks flat and fucking dead. It's to make up for the player count and all of the performance hits that come along with that. So, yeah, I don't know. Every time somebody mentions epic player counts and stuff like this, I think about the one and only game I ever played where that player count felt, or a player count like that felt good, and that was a game called Join Ops. And it was Join Ops, and then they had an expansion, Join Ops. I can't remember the name of the expansion. Anyway, Brian and I played it for a long time when we were younger, and they had 180 or some shit, 200 fucking players. The maps were huge, a lot of vehicles, dense jungle and shit. And so it actually allowed for more strategic play where you weren't necessarily, even though there was that many people, you weren't running into 40 fucking people at a time, right? You weren't cresting a hill and all of a sudden there was 60 people firing nonstop in a single direction. The maps were big enough that you had skirmishes pushing points all over the map. And being a sniper meant something. You could be in a hill laying down, and you might be there for 15 minutes before you see somebody, but your play made a difference versus just quick scoping snipers, which is what snipers have become in every fucking modern game. I'm going to take this sniper into combat where I'm fighting somebody 30 meters away from me. So that's the one game I can think of that I've played that actually did it well, and I'm sure that with next gen stuff and PCs as they are, that you could push something like that with a map size and game modes that could make that work. But is that something that enough people want right now? I still think people are going to cringe if there's no Battle Royale, even though Battlefield has shown that they do not know how to fucking do a Battle Royale. Even though all they have to do is basically take PUBG and let people blow up houses, and you're done. They could do that, and it would probably be wildly fucking successful just based on that. But I don't know. I feel like the majority of Battlefield players, I don't know this for sure, but I feel like the majority have always been on PC anyway. Unless you're talking about something like Bad Company, which were very popular on the consoles, I think that Battlefield has always been majority PC in the first place. PC market has never been in a better place. The average PC hardware has never been in a better place. And personally, I would have said, fuck it. Just put it on PC, put it on next-gen consoles. Because what are they aiming to sell here? If they're in raw copies, if they're not making this free to play. Their benchmark is probably 7 or 8 million fucking copies, and they're probably not going to be too upset about it, given the last couple of Battlefield games being dog shit. So if that's what they were going for, and then hoping to microtransaction sell the fuck out of it like everyone else, which would be the smart thing to do, I don't know. I probably would have gone all in on next gen shit, and just ran with it that way. I think we're at the point now with these consoles that by the time Battlefield comes out, most games are going to be exclusively next gen. By the time this Battlefield game comes out, even if it comes out at the end of this year. We're at that point where the majority of games now unless they're like heavily delayed third-party titles, are all going to be next gen. So I don't know. It's probably very scary to make that judgment call internally, because you need to make money on this because you haven't made money all that well in the last couple of games. They weren't well received. You need a dub. You need a big fucking dub.
Yep.
And somebody internally had to make the call, do we hedge our bets on this dub and put it on old consoles and possibly fuck ourselves by hamstringing this game going up against whatever Call of Duty's going to have coming up next, because they'll have a return fire button.
Oh, for sure.
Waiting.
Ready to go. Oh yeah, ready to go.
So that's a scary thing, but we'll wait and see. June. That's when we're going to see it. I'm excited to see what they've got. I want them to blow me away. I want them to blow my fucking mind. Show me what you've got, Battlefield, because you used to be my favorite, and now I couldn't possibly fucking care less about Battlefield. So, bring me back, for God's sake.